Hello, this is Evangelist Dr. Robert L. McKim Sr. from Carrollton, Ohio. I want to talk to you about Renee's health. Her new family doctor changed her blood pressure medication. On the 3rd, it worked okay for about a week. But now her pulse, not her blood pressure is doing alright, it's her pulse, her heart rate. And this is the pulse ox. Right now it's 122, 121. 119, 115, 109, 107, 106. It just keeps going all over the place. She has an irregular heartbeat. Basically, an irregular heartbeat. But for some unknown reason, primary care doctors, they think they can be heart doctors. I honestly think Rene needs a heart doctor because she has a vascular doctor. And that vascular doctor did an angiogram to open up the arteries in her legs so that the blood flows back and forth into her legs and back to her heart again. Well, I think because it's actually been going on since that procedure, that she's getting too much blood flow now back to her heart and it's putting a strain on her heart. So what's that called? It's like a pacemaker in your heart. It's called the yeah, I read up on it here not too long ago. What's that called? The tachycardia. The tachycardia that's in the heart. Basically, she's in constant tachycardia. When your pulse rate goes over 100 and stays over 100, you're in constant tachycardia. Well, because of the pacemaker in the heart isn't working right. I think she needs a pacemaker, but you know, I've been there with my mother and her heart issues for several years. The problem is, there was one point in time, even after my mother had a quadruple bypass, that she was still back in the hospital. And the heart doctor she was seeing, and the hospital she went to, which was in Canton, not saying which hospital in Canton, Ohio, but there's only 2. They just said, no, the only thing that was wrong with my mother was anxiety. After they released my mother from that hospital, my dad took her to the other hospital there in Canton. They called in a different heart doctor. That heart doctor did some tests on my mother, found out that the bypasses that the other doctor had done, couple of the grafts on my mother's heart didn't really take like they should have, so she still wasn't getting proper blood flow to her heart. So they had to go back in and do some more bypassing and cleaning things out. And then several years later, in 2009, my mother had passed away from aplastic anemia. the problem is doctors, they don't know everything, especially family doctors. Even heart doctors, well, Renee had a heart doctor when she first moved in with me. But that heart doctor got mad because Renee was admitted to a hospital in Indiana and we couldn't make it back over to Ohio in time for her appointment. They wanted us to pay $25 for a no-show, and I called them, left them messages on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, the day after, which was Saturday, because that particular time, Christmas was on a Friday. We had left on Thursday to go to her family to visit. And Rene wanted to see her grandparents at the time when they were still living. So we went after she got out on the hospital on Monday. I called him and finally got a hold of him and said, listen, she had been in the hospital. I've been leaving messages the whole time she was in the hospital. They're like, well, you gotta be back over here for the appointment. I'm like, listen, we're over here in Indiana, and she hasn't even got to see her family. Do you even care about that? Honestly, the woman that was the secretary for that doctor, she acted like she didn't really care that we were in another state. Rene was in the hospital, was her first bout of cellulitis, or how you want to cough it up. She was sick. She wanted to go to visit her family and then go back home. When are doctors when are MDs and whatever they are, going to wake up and start treating the patient and the symptom? We're not robots, and we're not here for them. They are here for us. We're not, sometimes I get this feeling that a lot of the doctors think that, we're here for them. And we got to bow down and kiss their feet because they have an MD. All Rene wants to do is feel good instead of being sick all the time. She's had those bouts of cellulitis. In 2015, she came down with cellulitis. My van at the time I had was broke down. I couldn't drive. Took her by ambulance to a hospital in Canton, Ohio. Not saying what hospital. And all right there in the emergency room, on the gurney, she was laying. Her foot and her leg was getting red and hot. She was running a fever. They thought she just had the flu. I said, look here at her leg. And I drew a line on her leg around the redness, because that's what they always did at Union Hospital. Well, I showed the nurse. I said, look here, the redness is traveling up her leg as she's laying here. The nurse said, where did you learn to do that? She's had this before. She had it at that time she had 2 times, or 3 times before. And they always mark around her leg and where the redness is, to see how far it travels. up the leg. Well, and I said, listen, I want the doctor to come in here and look at this. He wasn't very happy either. He just said that Rene did not meet criteria to be admitted. Well, this was on a Thursday, or no, Wednesday, I think it was. A Wednesday. I think it was on a Wednesday. We had to wait until my son got there to pick us up after he got off work. Brought us back home. Then on Friday, called the ambulance again. I said, listen, I don't want her to go to Canton. I want her to go to Dover, Ohio, to Union Hospital. They had to get special permission to go down there, but they took us down there. And as soon as we got in, they took a look at her and said, you're getting admitted. So they admitted Rene, and I stayed there. Of course, couldn't get back home. Stayed there all night, Friday night, all day Saturday and Saturday night. Sunday, I called around to different churches to see if anybody, could bring me home. And found a church that had, they talked to somebody at the church, and the people lived in Canton, so they brought me back home. Long story short is, doctors don't know everything. And they love to mess around with people's health and their life. That's the sorry thing, because when you're messing around with someone's health, you're also messing around with their life. Called her new family doctor this morning. Well, he wasn't in, so the nurse said, she would talk to the nurse practitioner. Haven't heard anything yet. It's going on, well, it's about 2:20. Still haven't heard anything yet. I need to know if I should take her to the hospital, and if they'll have a heart doctor to look at her, or they're just going to mess around with her. Like they messed around with my mother, and like they messed around with other people I know they messed around with. And like they messed around with Rene several times as well. God bless you. Have a blessed day.